What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Triple Threat Show. As always, I'm your host, Marv Temi, getting back at it. Sunday night action. This is going to be kind of a new thing going on here. We'll get into it later on at the end of the show. I'll talk about it a little bit more going into this coming week in terms of how this show schedule is going to be looking like over the next week or so, something like that. We'll figure it out. But right now, it's all about Game 7s. Two best words in sports. I talked about it yesterday. We saw one yesterday between the Celtics and the Sixers. Yeah, Sixers fans, you got me. You got me, bro. I came on here last night depressed because I was damn depressed. I've had 24 hours to think about it, and I've got a lot more to talk about today. A lot more. Pistons. We saw the Pistons and the Magic wrap up their series earlier today. Got 3 Game 7s today. One finished, 2 more to go. Raptors and Cavs on right now, followed by the Montreal Canadiens and Tampa Bay Lightning. They are playing right next to me as well. I'll have live updates for that one as we go throughout the show. We're going to break down all the action there is to get to. But first, before I go any further, drop a follow, drop a like. You can catch all our content here on TikTok, on YouTube. If you want full recordings of the show, catch them on our YouTube page at the Triple Threat Show. If you want more of the credit, if you want more of the content from the boys, like Jeremy Lapidus, like Nolan Jambor, catch us all over there. Appreciate you dropping a follow. Let's get right into it. We don't have a whole lot of time. 7:45. And real quick, Montreal and Tampa is tied at 1-1 apiece. Tampa 21-4 on shots. Montreal has one shot the entire period of a Game 7. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with that one, but we got to start in the NBA. This is a basketball show. We know that I'm the basketball guy. We're here for basketball. We're here to talk some hoops. And that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're doing, bro. Let's talk about it. Pistons, Magic. This series has been just unbelievable all the way around. Magic take a 3-1 series lead. Magic win Game 1 in Detroit. Detroit has like a 36-3 run in Game 2 to go to tie up the series. Orlando wins both games at home. Paolo and Cade drop 45 on each other in Game 5. Cade ends up winning the battle because of the team around him. Franz Wagner does not see a single game after Game 4, including today. Orlando misses or has a 27-point lead in Game 6 in a closeout game on their home floor, Game 6. 27-point lead. Proceed to go 0 of 24 in the third quarter, to not score a single point for 45 minutes. And the Orlando Magic lose Game 6. Now Game 7 today. Magic are sticking with it first quarter. It's even first quarter. Orlando takes a first quarter lead at the end of the quarter. The second quarter was a complete flip-flop. Cade Cunningham walks down, hits a step-back three-pointer, laces it, and then nobody can hit nobody can get a basket for the Magic in the second quarter. It's a tale of the tale right there for the Orlando Magic in that one. Outside of Paolo Banchero, who did have a decent game, shot 4-7 for 3, 38 points, did everything that he could. My bad. I always forget for whatever reason to turn on D&D. Outside of Paolo, who else scores for the Orlando Magic? Desmond Bane with 16 points. Nobody else can buy a basket for the Orlando Magic offensively. They just proceed to score 15 points in the third quarter, and that just pretty much ices the game. Detroit, I knew after Game 6 when Detroit came back from 27 points down, when Orlando couldn't buy a basket in that third quarter, you weren't going to win in Detroit. You weren't. You had hope. You thought you could. You thought this was going to be different than 2003 when this same Detroit Pistons team came up into your house and beat you in Game 7 after being down 3-1 in that series. You thought it would be different. You're funny. No. You're not beating Cade Cunningham. Not the way that Tobias Harris was playing today. 27 points for 30 points for Tobias Harris. I thought it was 27 points because it was 27 points with 7 minutes to play. I turned it off with 7 minutes to play in the fourth quarter because I knew it was over. I turned it off. Cade finishing with 32 today with 12 assists, a plus 29 on the floor. Cade Cunningham, unbelievable game from him. He continues to be the face of the franchise and continues to bring the franchise, puts the franchise on his shoulders and shows why he can be a leader of the team. Shows the MVP self that he is, unlike somebody else that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Jalen Duren finally shows up in the game. 15 points, 15 rebounds. Finally has a good game in this series. Shows up leaves the series on a good note, and they prepare for the second round of their playoff hopes. They're waiting for whoever wins the Raptors and the Cavs series, and we'll get there in a second. But this game today, unbelievable game, start to finish. The Detroit Pistons just took it to the Orlando Magic, out-physicaled them, outplayed them, and it was just after that second quarter, it was wraps. Honestly, after Game 6, everybody in the NBA community knew it was wraps. If the Detroit Pistons lost this Game 7, I think it would have not only saved Jamal Mosley's job probably, but I don't think anybody would have let the Detroit Pistons live it down. After the way that they played in Game 2, after the way they played in Game 6, after the way they played in Game 5, coming back, because honestly, the Orlando Magic should have won Game 5, should have stolen Game 5. It's just the play of Cade Cunningham time and time again, just carrying the franchise, hitting big-time shots. Today it was also Tobias Harris with him, like I said, 30 points for the kid, 11 of 18, 5 of 7 from 3, making amends from his last Game 7 with the Philadelphia 76ers. If you don't remember, 2023 against the Boston Celtics. Yeah, I'm talking about it. 0 points in 36 minutes. 0 for Tobias Harris in that last Game 7. Today, completely, he went into the press conference. Kenny asked him the damn question. He's like, so, what was your mindset going into this Game 7 compared to the last one? Because we all remember what happened last time. He goes, is that the one that had 0 points in? Kenny's just sitting there laughing. He's like, yeah, that's the one you had 0 points in, bro. Yeah, man. So it was just a good game for Tobias Harris. Good way to show out and close the series. Shout out Nolan Jambor, fan of the Detroit Pistons. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to the Detroit Pistons for their first series win since I think 2008 for them. It's been a long time coming for the Detroit Pistons. A lot of people have not seen this franchise win a playoff series. Me being one of them. I haven't actually gone out there in my time watching basketball. Not even when I was a kid, when I was just kind of watching it. Like actually in general. From my perspective, I've only seen them getting their ass beat by LeBron James in the first round. You guys know what I'm talking about, Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond when he was the leader of that team. That was a long time ago. When LeBron James would just show up there in a 1-8 matchup and would just give them the business and would sweep them. Yeah, they got close last year with Karl Anthony Towns, and I actually picked them to win that series against the New York Knicks. Knicks actually beat them, but they have a chance to make amends. They're in the second round. Both of these teams are in the second round. I'm not talking about a whole lot of the Knicks, but shout out the Detroit Pistons for getting it done. Game 7, coming back from 3-1 down in a big-time way and getting it done on their home floor. They get to celebrate and have a couple days off. Their Game 1 of their next series tips off on Tuesday. So they do have a couple days off to relax and rest. The team that they're going to be facing, who is it going to be? Toronto Raptors, Cleveland Cavaliers. That game is already tipped off. Game 7 in Cleveland. Every home team has won the game. Every home team has won throughout this series. Game 1, Game 2, Cleveland. Game 3, Game 4, Toronto. Game 5, Cleveland. Game 6, Toronto. Now we're here in Game 7. Scotty Barnes is on the court. No Brandon Ingram once again for the Toronto Raptors. No Brandon Ingram, no problem, they say. Toronto's already up 13-8 in this game. If I need anybody to step up first off, the Toronto Raptors are playing with house money. Let's get that safe. Let's get that squared away. Nobody even thought I've said this entire series, nobody thought Toronto would even be in the playoffs this year. Maybe they would have snuck into the play-in tournament, but you're telling me they would have made the number 5 seed, they would be taking the number 4 seed to a Game 7 without Brandon Ingram, without Emmanuel Quickley, especially the way that we saw him play this entire season? You're telling me Scotty Barnes, we know how good Scotty Barnes is, but they would be putting Donovan Mitchell and James Harden against the ropes? That's what you're telling me? Nah. So, if there's anybody that's under the pressure, that's feeling the pressure, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers and it's Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's already 0 of 2 in this game. If you want really quick, I wish I had the stats in front of me, but let's just look it up real quick. Donovan Mitchell stats, because I know it ain't good. I just want to make sure my numbers are right when I open my mouth. Donovan Mitchell in this series, going back to Game 1. Game 1, 32 points, 11 of 20 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. Good game. Game 2, 30 points, 13 of 23, 4 of 10 from 3. Mind you, both of those games, they won by 20 points. Brandon Ingram was still in those games. Game 3, 15 points, 7 of 16, 1 of 7 from 3. Game 4, 20 points, 4 of 12 from 3, 6 of 24 from the field. I don't care if you have 20 points. If you're putting up 20 shots, I expect you to score 20 points at that point. If you're not scoring 20 points and you're putting up 24 shots a game, there's something wrong with you, especially if you're a superstar player like Donovan Mitchell is. Game 5, on your home floor, you have a chance to, it's a 2-2 series, you have an opportunity to take a series lead, and they did. 19 points, 7 of 17 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. Not even the best player on his team. Also, Game 3 and Game 4, he had 7 turnovers combined. Game 6, 24 points, 11 of 26 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3. This is the Donovan Mitchell that we're talking about. This is the Donovan Mitchell that was kind of didn't actually request a trade, but was definitely saying like, hey, Cleveland, if you don't actually make your team better, I'm going to walk in free agency. Like, I'm leaving if you don't. I want to compete for championships. Yet, he wants to be the best player on the team and play like this. This is something that Donovan Mitchell has been accused of for a couple years now. And we know how good Donovan Mitchell is, but when he got eliminated by the Indiana Pacers last year, when he's gotten eliminated twice by the Boston Celtics, that's just 3 years right there. 2022, 2023, and 2024. Or 22, 23, 20. Can I do math? 2025, lost to the Pacers. 24 and 23, they lost to the Celtics. I don't know what happened in 22. But this is what we're talking about with Donovan Mitchell. The Cleveland Cavaliers go out there and get a guy like James Harden to be the point guard for this team, to be the facilitator. It kind of works. It's not a bad idea. It works. James Harden's been a good player, but in terms of what he's meant to this team so far in these playoffs, he hasn't done a whole lot. He hasn't needed to do a whole lot. He's been the assist guy, but he is just sitting there and getting turned over all the time. If you don't believe me, 4 turnovers game 1, 5 turnovers game 2, 8 turnovers game 3, 7 turnovers in game 4, 6 turnovers in game 5, 4 turnovers in game 6. This is the James Harden that we're talking about right now. If the Cleveland Cavaliers lose this game, I think it closes out their championship window. And I think it has to be. It's not even a question at this point. Donovan Mitchell's most likely going to walk in free agency. James Harden, if he loses another Game 7, there's no worse combination in the English language than James Harden in Game 7. They don't work together. James Harden is the worst playoff choker. Yeah, I think he has the most playoff wins without a championship. This is the James Harden that we're talking about. So, if there's a guy that needs to win this series, that needs to step up and show up in a Game 7, it has to be Donovan Mitchell. And it has to be James Harden. Right now, he has 5 points, James Harden. So he's kind of doing his thing right now. Give him time. It's early, 6 minutes, 5 points. But if there's any sort of way that the Cleveland Cavaliers want an opportunity to win this series, it has to be on the back of Donovan Mitchell. He has to go out there and play like a star that he is. If the stars don't show up in a Game 7, you don't have a chance. You know who's going to show up for the Raptors? Scotty Barnes is going to show up. Jamal Shead is going to show up. If you don't know who Jamal Shead is, he has shown up this entire series. Game 1, he had 30 points. Game 7, he's now showing up again, shooting the lights out from 3. He needs to continue to do that if the Raptors want to win. RJ Barrett, he hit the game-winning 3 in Game 6. The crazy off-the-backboard 3 that people are calling the second coming of Kawhi Leonard? Yes. The Toronto Raptors have all the offense, all the pieces to put the Cavs against the wall and to force them to do whatever. The Cavs have no opportunity to win this series, pretty much, if the Raptors play at their best. That's what it comes down to, I think. And the Raptors are still missing Brandon Ingram, and they're still missing Emmanuel Quickley. If I'm the Detroit Pistons, yeah, I'm kind of hoping the Cavaliers win this game because if there's one thing that can stop the Cavs, it's good defense. That's what the Pistons have. Because the Cavs crumble against that. What the Raptors have, They're unbelievably well balanced on both sides. They're unbelievably well coached. And they have all the pieces. They have all the young talent that can go out there and win games. This is not the Orlando Magic that they can't score points. The Toronto Raptors can score points. They've proved that all series long. They scored 126 in Game 3. They scored 115 in Game 2. They scored 113 in Game 1. They scored 120 in Game 5 in a game they lost. And they scored 112 in Game 6. The only game that they scored sub 100 in was Game 4 when both teams did, and they won by 4 points. So, yeah. This is a big-time deal for the Detroit Pistons. If they get the Toronto Raptors in the first round, I'm not saying that the Raptors are going to beat them, but I'm going to keep an open mind. I'm going to say the Pistons win in 6 games, but if the Raptors go out there and steal a game in Game 1 or Game 2, if they can keep it close and they can win both Game 3 and Game 4, I don't think the Pistons can come back from another 3-1 deficit. Not the way that the Pistons are playing. They need more offensive efficiency if they're going to want to go ahead and win more games going through these Eastern Conference playoffs. They need to get more offensive. They need more output out of Duncan Robinson, out of Dennis Jenkins, out of Tobias Harris. They need Tobias Harris to play the way that he did more consistently instead of just hoping and praying Cade Cunningham's going to score 40 points a game and they're going to win, which is what they did twice. They lost Game 1 when Cade dropped 40. They won Game 5 when Cade dropped 40. So, yeah, the Pistons going to need some more offensive efficiency if they're going to want to get anywhere in these NBA playoffs. The Raptors, which right now it's looking like the Raptors right now that they're going to be facing 22-12, 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. 12 points for the Cavs through 9 minutes of the game. I'm not saying it yet. It's a long game. I'll probably stay alive for that game. But shout out the Toronto Raptors playing unbelievable basketball so far through these playoffs. Now, there's only one other game there is left to talk about, so let's do it. Because I know you guys have wanted me to talk about it. I got trolled all last night about the Sixers. I'm ready to get trolled again. And honestly, I was one of those guys that said at that point after the Celtics lost Game 6, you know what, Philly? You won Game 7. Because, especially with the way Tatum played, especially with Tatum being out for Game 7, yeah, the Celtics aren't beating the Sixers. Not with the way that the Sixers are playing. Not with the way Joel Embiid was playing. Not with the way Tyrese Maxey was playing. Not with the way Nick Nurse was coaching. Nick Nurse might be is probably the unsung hero of this entire series. The way that the Sixers came out. I don't know, what was his name? What was the Sixers coach back in 2021? The guy that got fired. I can't remember his name, but I can picture his face. Not Doc Rivers, the guy before Doc Rivers. Maybe it was 2019. Brett Brown. If Brett Brown was the same the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers going into this series, the Celtics would have closed out Game 5. If Doc Rivers was the head coach of the Sixers team when they faced the Boston Celtics in this series probably would have been a sweep. Instead, they actually have a competent head coach in Nick Nurse. They bring Nick Nurse in, a guy that won a championship with the Toronto Raptors, and everybody that wants to say Kawhi Leonard was the key to that entire team. Go ahead and watch Nick Nurse in the way that he coached. You're telling me Kawhi Leonard made the decision to pick up Giannis from midcourt? A small forward to pick up a power forward like that? No, that was Nick Nurse's decision. You're telling me the way that they played with DeMar DeRozan to bring them into the playoffs almost every single year? I can't remember the guy that they had before Nick Nurse, but I know he had something to do with it too. But with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Korver, well, not Kyle Korver, but those two guys specifically, the Toronto Raptors are built off of defense and defense alone. And Nick Nurse is the guy that brought offense into the equation. He's an offensive-minded head coach. He knows how to bring the mismatches into play. He knows where to put guys and where they should be to be successful. Just ask Tyrese Maxey. You tell me Tyrese Maxey has looked as good as he looked throughout this playoff series, throughout his entire career? No. And he does this every single time he plays the Celtics. He goes out there and he looks unstoppable driving to the hoop. because nobody can guard him. Nobody on the court can guard him. And he's going to bring those same assets when he goes out there and plays the New York Knicks. And the Knicks are going to need to put a guy like a Mikal Bridges on him and hope and pray that he can stick with him. Maybe they put Josh Hart on him. But if you put Josh Hart on Maxey, who's going to guard Edgecombe? Who's going to guard Paul George? You're telling me Karl-Anthony Towns is going to guard Joel Embiid the way that he looked? And that's going to be a big question mark going into that series with the New York Knicks. Joel Embiid hyperextends his left knee. Again, another bad knee issue for a guy with bad knees. So, this is an injury that a guy like Anthony Edwards is dealing with that's kept him out of the series for almost 2 weeks now. That kept him out of Game 4, Game 5, and Game 6 against the Denver Nuggets. That's going to keep him out for the first 3 games of the series against the San Antonio Spurs. This is the same injury that Joel Embiid is dealing with, and it's a bad knee injury, and it's a guy with bad knees already. So that's something that we're going to need to monitor and see how Joel Embiid's going to be able to deal with that. But going back into last night, Game 7, Celtics-Sixers. If there's one thing that last night told me from a Celtics perspective, and I know I came out here and I said Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown split up the Jays. I still kind of believe that. I still kind of believe that Brad Stevens is the kind of realist and idealist that if he gets the right trade for Jason Tatum, he will trade Jason Tatum. And I do think that they would go ahead and trade Jason Tatum before they traded Jaylen Brown. I seriously believe that. Call me crazy all you want. But if they can go out there and get a deal for a good, legit big man or center like Giannis, like Jokic, not like a guy like Anthony Davis. I swear to God, if you trade Jason Tatum for Anthony Davis, I'm going to lose my mind as a Celtics fan. I would absolutely lose my mind. I would be the first person that you would see on TikTok Live screaming that Brad Stevens needs to be fired for something like that. There's no way that would happen. But for a guy like Jokic, for a guy like Giannis, you're telling me you're telling me Brad Stevens wouldn't do that? Jokic is already on the market. If you guys don't know already, Jokic is pissed with the GM of the Nuggets. He's pissed. Not that the team has been doing horrible, but mainly that there's a guy that he used to have with him and a guy like Mike Malone that drafted him, that brought him in, that coached him for his first 3 years, that won a championship with him, that they had their best years with. And when Mike Malone got lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves their first time around, Jamal Murray didn't look as sorry as they did. When Mike Malone was the head coach of the Denver Nuggets, the Nuggets didn't look as putrid as they did offensively as they did in Game 2, in Game 6, in Game 4, in Game 3 against the Minnesota Timberwolves of this series, or of last series. So yeah, and this is a guy in Nikola Jokic where the GM literally name dropped him. Well, I don't want to lose 15 in a press conference, completely unannounced in a mid-season press conference. He goes, "Well, if we don't get better, we might lose 15." Number 15 is Jokic, and Jokic is one of the best players in the league. If some people say SGA is the best player in the league, I still think Jokic is the best player in the league. Why? Because Jokic is a mismatch machine. Nobody can guard Jokic, except Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert is going to be something that we discuss and talk about when we look at this series coming up against San Antonio. I think that series tips off tomorrow. I believe that series tips off tomorrow. Yeah, so we'll be here tomorrow to go over all that. But with the way that the way that the Celtics are looking right now, if there is one thing that this team two things that this team needs, and I think this is the way that you cure it. You go out there and trade for a center, not Nikola Vucevic. If you can trade Nikola Vucevic ass out of there, any Celtics fan would thank you. Nobody wants Nikola Vucevic back in Boston because we traded Anthony Simons for him, and it looked like a bag of dust that we got in return for a guy like Anthony Simons, who's balling now in Chicago, who knows how to shoot the basketball, who can be a spark off the bench. Shout out Anthony Simons. I saw him one time. But if there's any way that the Celtics can piece it together, I think they go out there and trade for a center. They use D. White. They use some of their players like Sam Hauser, whoever wants Sam Hauser, and maybe a Peyton Pritchard. Those three guys, If you have to use Jason Tatum, you have to use Jason Tatum. But if you can avoid it, cool. Use those three guys I just mentioned, whoever wants them, and go out there and get yourself a quality center. Go out there and get a Jakob Poeltl. Go out there and get a Jared Allen. Try and maybe get a Bam Adebayo, even though Miami has said there's no way that they're moving off of Bam Adebayo. If there's anybody that's untouchable in Miami, it's Bam Adebayo. But if you can go out there and get a setter not named Anthony Davis, and he's decent, and he can get you boards, and his name's also not Zion Williamson, I won't mind it. I won't be against. Even if you can get a guy like a Jakob Poeltl that the Toronto Raptors are using and leeching off of to get to where they are right now. Yeah, that's better than what they have right now. Neemias Queta is good, but he needs somebody to run with him. They need a power forward. The hole that Al Horford left in the offseason glared in this last playoff series. You're telling me if Al Horford was running with Neemias Queta that they wouldn't be able to deal with Joel Embiid? You're telling me if they could put Derek White at the point, Tatum at the shooting guard or Brown at the shooting guard, small forward shooting guard, and flip-flop them, put Al Horford at the 4 with Queta at the 5, they wouldn't have much better success versus what they had throughout this series? That's all I'm saying. I think the Celtics need to go out there and draft a point guard and trade for a center. If they can do those two things and they can fill those two holes and they can get their contract situations figured out and they can figure it out with Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, or if you have to trade them, if you can't figure it out, trade one of the two, because honestly, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again, they're kind of too good for each other. They're like a perfect couple that's too perfect. They're too good. They don't fill each other's gaps. They can't like, it's like two puzzle pieces that don't mesh. They just kind of do this. That looks really weird. You guys know what I'm saying though. They do the same things and they can't, like Jaylen Brown just wants the ball in his hands. Jason hunting mismatches in the low post. Jason Tatum is just trying to find mismatches on the perimeter, trying to get a step back 3-pointer. Of course, that's Joe Mazzulla's ideology. But yeah, I did say Joe Mazzulla should get fired yesterday. I kind of take that back. I think they keep him back for one more. If he does the same thing that he did in the playoffs this year again, then I think at that point you trade him. But I think if you're the Boston Celtics, you just need to find a way where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you need a point guard that can facilitate for them because they can't facilitate for each other. If they do, they'll just sit there and do, you shoot it this time, you shoot it this time, you shoot it. And then everybody else is sitting in the corner like, can I do something, please? Or at one point, maybe they'll pass Pritchard the ball, and what he's going to do? Shoot a 3-pointer and clank it off the rim. If you guys didn't watch that game with 3 minutes, I think there was like 2 minutes to play. 1-point game, Jaylen Brown goes down the court, and this is the play that Pritchard misses the 3. Jaylen Brown dribbles down the court. Queta's in front of him, wide open in the lane, doing this. What does Brown do? Inside out, fakes it to Queta, goes to the 3 instead for an open Pritchard, instead of scoring the basket. And the Celtics had been using twos and getting inside the post the whole time to try and cut the lead when they were down by 13 going into the fourth quarter. That's bad coaching. And for Joe Mazzulla to go into a press conference and say, well, if I had 5 centers, we would go into the low post every time. Pretty much throwing a shot at Brad Stevens. Or for him to say, well, I think we shot good percentage shots the whole time. Sam Hauser taking a step back 3. Jaylen Brown walking up and trying to shoot an ISO 3 right off the point with like 20 seconds to go on the shot clock. You think those are good shots? Those are the plays where I look at Joe Mazzulla and I say, you're not the right guy for the Celtics. Because that's not Celtics basketball. Maybe that's current Celtics basketball, but that's your ideology that's turned him into that. Previous Celtics basketball is getting into the low post, trying to develop centers, developing power forwards. You've never been able to develop a center because they don't stay healthy. But developing a power forward to get into the low post, get rebounds, get second opportunities, be able to dunk the ball, get to the basket, get layups, get perimeter shots. And when I say perimeter, I mean in the interior, around the paint, like fall away jumpers, like elbow jumpers like Jason Tatum used to shoot early in his career, like Jaylen Brown does shoot sometimes, and when he does, he's been pretty consistent and pretty good at shooting those. If he shot those last night, I wouldn't be mad at it because I know those are good percentage shots, high percentage shots that I've seen him make. Sam Hauser step back 3-pointers. Peyton Pritchard, what did Peyton Pritchard shoot last night? Peyton Pritchard shot 2 of 7 from 3. And you went to him with 3 minutes to go to shoot the 3? With I think there was 12 seconds to go in the shot clock? Those are the plays that the Celtics have to go back to, and they have all the fans stare at in the face, and they have to look at them and say, well, what did you do in the entire game outside of shoot threes? And then missed them. They shot 13 of 49 from 3. Those are the things that we have to deal with, and the summer that we're going to need to see and look at every time we think of when we think about the Celtics. We have to think about the Philadelphia 76ers going out there and snapping a 7-series streak for the Celtics. We have to think about the Sixers breaking a 40-year curse that they haven't beaten us in the series since 1983 or 82, whatever it was. We have to think about the Boston Celtics giving up a 3-1 lead to the Philadelphia 76ers. Shout out the Sixers. They deserve every bit of it. Joel Embiid played his heart out. Tyrese Maxey was the best player on the court for a long time. Joel Embiid coming back for this team completely turned the tides of this series. I started off with talking about this series saying, Joel Embiid comes back, it's not going to make a difference. How wrong I was. How wrong I could have. I don't think I could have been more wrong. Joel Embiid, when he came back in Game 4, that was the Peyton Pritchard game, so we give him a pass. Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7. I think he had 30 points in every single game. Getting to the free throw line whenever he wanted, being a double-double machine, not turning the ball over. That's Joel Embiid. Stuffing Jaylen Brown on a dunk that would have given them the lead. If you look at it that way. It would have been 100-99 with 3 minutes to play. A lot of things could have changed for the Celtics. A lot of things could have been different. But at the end of the day, the Celtics lose to the Sixers. And the Sixers deserve all the credit in the world. They're moving on to the New York Knicks. Their series tips off. Game 1 for that series tips off on Tuesday. I will be back on Tuesday to preview that series because there is no way in hell I'm spending any more time talking about the Sixers because it's nauseating, it's disgusting. There's nothing more that makes me sick than talking about the Philadelphia Sixers talking about beating the Boston Celtics. It's worse than the Knicks because at least the Knicks are good at basketball right now. At least the Knicks have a full-fledged, phenomenal team that can go out there and get to an NBA championship. Not win the NBA championship, but get to the NBA championship. Because they now have a cakewalk getting to the championship. They're gonna go out there and beat the Sixers. If they don't beat the Sixers, we won't let them live it down. And we'll sit there and we'll say, you guys lost to them too. Welcome to the club. But that's not gonna happen. Let's get to hockey because there is hockey to talk about. Canadiens Lightning, the final game of the first round in the NHL playoffs, in the books or in play right now. 1-1, 13 minutes to play. We're now looking at 24-5 in terms of a shot disparity. And the only reason the Canadiens are tied in this game is because the only puck to get past Vasilevsky is a shot from Suzuki to go off of a Montreal Canadiens stick, to go off of a Tampa Bay Lightning's leg, to go off of the inside post and in past Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky's been unbelievable through these last 2 games. We knew he's one of the best goalies there is in the NHL. We know he's a tank. He goes out there and defends 30 shots in Game 6. Lightning go out there and get a 1-0 win in Montreal in overtime. There's been either 4 or 5 overtime games in this series. It's been a phenomenal series all the way around. Every team to score the opening goal of the game wins the game. If that made sense. Every team to score. The team that scores the opening goal of the game ends up winning the game. They're like 5-1 in this series. The only time it hasn't happened was Game 3, when the Canadiens scored first, and the Lightning ultimately won 3-2. You know who scored first in this game? The Canadiens. So this is something we're going to keep our eye out for. 13 minutes to go in the third period, 13-18. I think we're looking at a face-off in the Tampa Bay zone. We'll see how that all plays out. Hurricanes-Flyers game 1 last night. I told you. There's a chance that the Flyers go out there and possibly steal game 1. But if I'm being honest, the Hurricanes are well rested. They haven't played in a week, excuse me. Haven't played in a week. They're well rested. They're poised. They're the best home team in the league by far, outside of maybe the Avalanche. But I think I would pick the Hurricanes at home versus the Avalanche. Yeah, the Hurricanes go out there and beat them 3-0. Hurricanes are the best team in the Atlantic or in the Eastern Conference in general. They're my pick to come out of the Eastern Conference. I'm picking the Hurricanes to go out there and beat the Flyers in 6 games. Maybe game 2 is different because the Flyers are a good team. They're well poised. They've been exceptional since the Olympic break. But this is also a Flyers team that almost blew a 3-0 lead. They were in overtime against the Pittsburgh Penguins on their home ice. And if Cade York hadn't put that puck in the back of the net and Pittsburgh had won game 6, I probably would have picked Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh for a game 7. Be one of the 4th team to come back from 3-0 down in a series. A lot to talk about with that series. The only other game that's going on tonight is the Wild and the Avalanche. We know how the Wild and Stars series went. We know how good the Wild are. I mean, the Wild are just unbelievable in terms of being able to put pucks in the back of the net. Matt Boldy, Quinn Hughes are unbelievable. That kid, Michael McCarron, unbelievable with the puck. This team is a buzzsaw. And I'm picking the Avalanche to win tonight. I'm picking the Avalanche to win this series in 7 games. It's going to be a hard-fought 7 games, though. Give me the Avalanche to win tonight in game 1 of that series in Colorado. We'll see how that plays out. But Colorado hasn't played a game in like a week. I think they haven't. When was the last time Colorado played a game? When was the last time Colorado played a game? Sunday? So, yeah, pretty much it's been another week since Colorado's played a game. They're well rested. I think Minnesota played their last game 2 or 3 days ago against Dallas when they won that game. When they won game 6, that was Thursday to Sunday. Easy math. So, yeah, Colorado tonight. I'm still picking the Canadiens in this game. I don't know why. I'm picking their team. They're hungry. They're well poised. Yes, the Lightning have Vasilevsky. They have experience. But I've picked Montreal this entire series to win in 7 games. I'm sticking with them. Canadians win in 7 games. But that's all I got for you guys today. The last thing I want to touch on before I hopped off was my schedule. My schedule moving forward, I'm going to be moving to 8-1 schedule. I'm working 8-1 over the next few days. If you guys don't know, I usually go live between 9 or 10 a.m. every single morning. So yeah, we're going to be moving to afternoon shows. So if you guys want to catch more of my content, probably going to go live around 3, 4 o'clock every day. Somewhere in there. I want to keep previewing games. I want to keep recapping games. So, and we'll probably get the most up-to-date day news because most of the sports news of the day comes around noon. So, should be fun. I'm excited. We'll see if this may be a new schedule for me. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'll probably do a couple videos before the end of the night. And, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. If you want a full recording of this show and if you miss any of the content, you can catch it on YouTube. This will be posted shortly after I hop off here. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.